Imagine falling in love with someone and the law calling it a crime. Not 200 years ago, not 100 years ago, but in America just a few decades ago.
Today, it may seem almost impossible to imagine, but there was a time when interracial marriage was considered a criminal act in many parts of the United States. For decades, state laws across America strictly banned people from different racial backgrounds from marrying each other. These were known as anti-miscegenation laws, and they were enforced with real legal consequences. Couples who chose to marry across racial lines could be arrested, fined, or even sent to prison. In some cases, they were forced to leave their home states and never return. Love wasn't just discouraged, it was illegal. And these laws weren't ancient history. By the 1950s, interracial marriage was still banned in several states, including Virginia. But everything was about to change because of one quiet, working-class couple who simply wanted to live together as husband and wife. Their names were Richard Loving and Mildred Loving, and their fight for love would soon become a turning point in American legal history. In 1958, Richard, a white man, and Mildred, a black woman, traveled to Washington, D.C. to get married. Why? Because their home state of Virginia had strict laws banning interracial marriage. At the time, these laws were known as anti-miscegenation laws, and they made it a criminal offense for interracial couples to marry. Soon after returning home, their lives took a devastating turn. One night, local police broke into their home. They weren't there for theft or violence. They were there because Richard and Mildred were married. The couple was arrested and charged with violating Virginia's marriage laws. In court, the judge gave them a shocking choice: spend a year in jail or leave the state of Virginia for 25 years. They chose exile. Forced to move to Washington, D.C., the Lovings were separated from their families, their home, and the life they knew. But Mildred Loving refused to accept this injustice. She reached out for help, eventually contacting civil rights lawyers who believed their case could challenge the law itself. And so began a legal battle that would reach the highest court in the nation. Their case became known as Loving versus Virginia. By 1967, the Lovings case had made its way to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, this was no longer just about one couple from Virginia. This was about a fundamental question that would impact millions of Americans. Does the government have the right to decide who you can marry based on race? Lawyers representing the Lovings argued that Virginia's ban on interracial marriage violated the Constitution, specifically the Equal Protection and Due Process Clauses of the 14th Amendment. They claimed that marriage is a basic civil right, and denying that right because of race was unconstitutional. On the other side, the state of Virginia defended its laws, arguing that they applied equally to everyone, claiming that both individuals in an interracial marriage were punished the same way. But the deeper issue was clear. Was equality really being protected, or was discrimination being legalized? The case, now known as Loving v. Virginia, forced the court to confront decades of racial segregation laws across the United States. Finally, in a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court struck down all laws banning interracial marriage nationwide. The court declared that marriage is one of the basic civil rights of man, and that restricting it on the basis of race violates the Constitution. With that single ruling, interracial marriage became legal across the entire country. With one decision, Richard and Mildred Loving helped end interracial marriage bans across the United States. Their love didn't just change their lives, it changed the law. And today, their story remains a reminder that sometimes the fight for justice begins with something as simple and powerful as love.